I'm going to do a quick video on this dock that I built because I couldn't find anything really on YouTube on how to build a dock. So I figured I'd go over this. I built this last spring, so I can't really show you the stanchions there all that well, but I can give you a brief overview of how I built it. It's 2x6 construction. There are 2x6s on the outside and the end, and I used a post hole digger and dug 4x4s into the ground to hold it into the ground. And then I have 2x6s 16 inches apart, which this is a composite wood deck, which they should be 12 inches apart, but 16 inches is still, I mean, it's still plenty solid enough. It doesn't have any flex or anything to worry about. I built it in 10-foot sections, 3 10-foot sections. So as you can see, the shoreline drops off kind of rapidly. Goes from, the shore to 2 feet, and then out here 20 feet it is about 4 feet. It's almost 6 foot deep at the end. I put these little lights on. They were like $30 a piece on eBay. They were kind of expensive. I don't know if I'll buy them again, but they're nice. They look nice at night. So the main thing hi buddy, let me do this video real quick. The main thing I wasn't sure of is how to build a stanchion that would work. And hi guys, stay back from the dock. So this is how I did it. I have 2 pinch bolts. This is schedule 40 2-inch pipe. And then if you can see down there, at the very bottom across here, there's a 3-foot schedule 40 pipe welded to the bottom as feet. There's one on each side, and then I have a brace across in the same fashion as this brace, but the only difference between that brace and this brace is this top one was made out of angle, and the bottom one is just flat stock steel to these tubes. I'm talking to YouTube, baby. Give me 1 minute, okay? And then I just capped them off. It's a really simple design once everything's said and done. So these metal poles are just a T, and then over the T I put the brace down there, which holds it side to side motion. And then on top I have a piece of angle, 1.5-inch angle running all the way across to the opposite side. And then I took another piece of angle and welded it so the dock sections would have something to sit on. And I have bolts coming up through this piece of angle on both sides of the dock, and then under this board there are lag bolts going through the dock sections to hold it. Leave your shoes on, guys. Like I said, I've had this in for a year. I typically keep my pontoon boat on this side, and I bought these cleats off of eBay. But I have the pontoon boat sitting on this side, and then I have my ski boat on the lift, which isn't in yet. I don't have either boat out. It's still beginning of May. Guys, back up. It held up fine. I am in a no wake cove, so I don't get a ton of wake, but we do have I'm talking to the video because I'm going to put it on YouTube, so if anybody else wants to build a dock, they'll know how. Back up. Sorry about that. But this is a no wake cove, but we do have a lot of wakeboarders and some people that wake surf, so it puts out a huge wake and it just rolls back into this cove, into the dock. But it held up fine with the pontoon boat. I just put a couple bumpers here, and it didn't move the dock or anything last year. The only problem I have had with this is last year I took the middle dock section out, and I intended on taking the last dock section out before winter. I never got around to it because the water was too cold. I didn't want to get my friends to come out here in the freezing water and pull the dock section. So I left it in. Only thing that happened was the ice moved it to the left and out a couple feet, and it broke the one board that we replaced yesterday. That 2x6 it broke because this stanchion got crooked and pulled the bolt out of it. So all I had to do was replace that 2x6 and put it back in. We ended up actually floating this dock section on 2 kayaks. We slid the kayaks underneath, let the dock down on them, and then brought it over to the shoreline and lifted it out. And that worked really good. So if you're thinking about building a dock and you don't have huge water fluctuations as far as height, this would be a good way to build one. I know that from experience now because I've had it for over a year and it's been tested. So tonight I will try to draw a diagram of what this looks like to add to this video to further show how I build it. But the top, very easy, you know, the top was easy to cut and lay out. It probably took me 6 hours to do this, the whole top, to get it ready to be put on the stanchion. The stanchions probably took, I'd say, me and my buddy Porter 5 hours to weld it all up and cut it and get everything together. Total money wise, I have $1,000 in this, between the metal, all of the metal, all of the composite decking, the cleats, the lights, everything, which it seems kind of expensive. I thought it was pretty expensive, but if you look at dock prices, if you go to buy a dock, they're way more than $1,000 to get a quality dock. I had 12 people on this last year at one time, and it held up. I was questioning these pinch bolts, which, you know, are just a nut welded on and then a bolt going through, pressing into the Schedule 40 pipe, but it held perfectly, you know, no problems. And I've never really had any problems with the amount of weight on the dock, so I'm happy with it all said and done. So like I said, I'll draw that up, how I made those and what they look like. And all I did was go out into the water with a tape measure. I measured 10 foot out, figured out how deep it was here, 20 feet out, 30 feet out, and then cut these pipes accordingly to the height. And as you can see, all their heights are pretty uniform. So I guess I did a good job with that. But if you got questions, leave a comment and I'll try to respond to it. Thanks. Okay, this part of the video is to go along with the dock video that I made earlier, just to show you basically how the dock stanchions all started and how we put them together. I'll start with the final product here so you can see what it's going to look like, and I'll explain all this because it doesn't make too much sense right now. But the stanchions have a 3-foot base of 2-inch Schedule 40 galvanized pipe. They're welded at the bottom. This is 2-inch, this is 2-inch pipe welded at the bottom. I put 3-foot base on it for the feet, and then the height, the length of the height, depends on how deep the water is. As I explained in the other video, I went out into the water and measured at 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, so I could know how long to make these uprights. So once you have this welded together, you need to make the lower brace, which these are 2.5-inch pipe that slide over the 2-inch pipe to slide down. And then I drilled holes in these pipes, so like that would be a hole. I drilled a hole and then welded a heavy gauge nut onto it, and then I threaded a bolt into that nut, so when
this is slid down over the 2-inch Schedule 40 pipe. You could tighten the bolt and it'll hold tension against it and won't let it move. I made my dock 4 foot wide, so I made these just a hair over 4 foot, so there would be a little room to play, because there was a little bit slop in the pipe with 2.5-inch pipe. And then to connect these two pipes, I used 1-inch flat stock steel and painted it. So that's the lower brace, which will go on the bottom to hold it still from moving back and forth. Then I made a top brace, and this has the pipes just like this brace, the lower brace, but these pipes were longer. They're, I think, 6-inch, and these are 3-inch. So I was able to put 2 tension bolts on each of the top braces, because that's where all the weight is going to be held, because the dock will rest right here in these on this angle iron. So like you could see right here, this is an 1.5-inch angle, and the bottom of this is an 1.5-inch angle also. So this angle is put upside down, so the top of the angle will be at the top of the actual brace, and then these angles that I welded lengthwise on there is where the dock sits on, and I drilled a hole in each one to mount the dock to it. So angle, both the same 1.5-inch angle, 1.5-inch angle, 2.5-inch 6-inch pipe with, I think they were 3/8 bolts. So there's that, and then this is the final result, the top view. You see the feet on it, which would be the 3 feet, and then there are Schedule 40 2-inch pipe in the middle, 2.5-inch pipe on the outside, tension bolts, angles for the top of the dock to sit on, piece of angle iron for these pieces of angle iron to sit on, and it was welded in both locations, front, bottom, and both sides against the larger pipe. And then you could see here, this would be a side view of the final result. 2 tension screws, 1 tension screw on the lower brace just to keep it from moving and hold it in position vertically. And like I said, I made my dock 4 inches, so I made the actual distance between the angles like 4.25 in between the angles, so the dock would slip down in. You have to take into account the thickness of the angle when you weld those on too. If you don't take that into account, it'll be too narrow. But the end result is I set up 3 of these, one at 10, one at 20, and one at 30 feet, and I had 12 people on it last year, and it didn't give these tension bolts that you just screw into the Schedule 40 pipe, and that's what it holds against that. 12 people at probably, I'd say, at least 150 pounds a piece, so a lot of weight, and it held up no problem. My pontoon boat sits on the one side and gets hit by waves all year long, and it didn't, it didn't move out of place at all. So if you're looking to build a dock, this is a pretty good setup, and I know from having it over a year now, but I couldn't find any good videos on YouTube on how to actually make a dock or any good plans. So I hope this helps. And this design was from one of my friends. Joe drew all this stuff up originally, so I wanted to give him some credit because he came up with this original design and it worked really well. I just wanted to show you what I did to actually put it together. Thanks.